No, I just wanted to clean up the...
L'chaim Eden. L'chaim L'broche. Our good tavach, everyone. Whoa. It's a sign that the Farbrengen has to get going. L'chaim. Baruch. I made a bracha already. Any case, everyone, go wash Malava Malka. I'm having Malava Malka here. We're going to be Farbrengen over here, talking a little bit about Judaism Taamuz. Chaim. For Yud-Beis Taamuz, special Yud-Beis Taamuz niggin. We sang it on Shabbos here quite a bit, but oops, let me get this moved up here. L'chaim. Didi yam mama ya dam ba ya di da dam didi da ya dam didi yam mama ya dam mama didi yam mama ya la dam didi yam mama ya to the ya mama to the mama ya to the mama ya to the Oy did ya and the ya mama yo yin mama ya la da ya mama ya to the ya la da ya la da ya la ram mama ya L'chaim L'bracha. The Chag HaGeula of the previous Rebbe should come, a Geula to everybody, and any Inyan that they need, any bracha, and any type of fakvetchkeit. The Inyan of Geula is men ametzar karosi ka noni b'merchav. The idea of a Geula is that when there is an Inyan of mitzarim, constrictions, limitations, there should be a blasting open. All the limitations and boundaries should be blown away. So if anybody has any constriction, any limitation, that should be removed, and they should come out of it, and then they should add it up in a way that they should see that even the constriction itself brought them to a much higher place. The Iker Inyan, what's negay immediately is that whatever it is that's troubling your heart, wherever you are, listening in and joining us with this Farbrengen. So really everybody should join, take a coffee, take a piece of cake. If you have access to pizza, you can get from Pizza Maven downstairs. or whatever you can do. Malava Malka, it's the Sudas David Malka Mashiach L'chaim, everyone. I want to mention today's Farbrengen was partially sponsored, at least to pay for the pizza, for my pizza. Everybody has to pay their own pizza. By, hold on one second over here, we got a dedication by our dear student. I'm sure she's still our student, even though she passed away like, I would say about 5-6 years ago. She was here, the one person who spent maybe 15 years by Thursday night, maybe a little less, I don't know, by that time, about 12 years, every Thursday night learning Chassidus here, and not leaving until 3-4 hours, till the very end. Bracha Leah Chava Bas Reb Shmuel, Bracha Finkelstein. May this be a schus for her neshama. She was one of the greatest attendees to Maayon Yisroel Shiurim. And a big bracha to her daughter Sarah, a complete refuah shalema to you, Sarah. Complete refuah shalema for the big miracles of Yud Beis Taamuz should be nimshach to you, and to your only brachas, to your husband, Shmuli, and the children. Everybody should be gesund and stark, mit alle gute Sachen. Only much bracha. Thank you. L'chaim al bracha. So, this Farbrengen was just very off the cuff, meaning Friday I was thinking, what are we going to do for Beis Taamuz? Shabbos, we're limited over here in returning to shul. The return back to shul has been challenging. I know different shuls have had different attitudes towards the pandemic and the way people are in shul, masks, not masks, social distancing, kedeshim, and so on and so forth. So we're not back to business as usual, and in a sense, there's something in me that's very, very satisfied about not being back to normal. If after everything we've been through this year, we go back to normal, then well, why do we have to go through all of this? Obviously, the Eibishter has his cheshbonos, but from the way we have expected it and wanted it, and we're excited about it, is that we realize that we're living already b'achras hayamim, and such a suspension of normalcy of life as we've experienced this year has not happened in recent history in such a global manner. And therefore, when we were all sent home from shul and we couldn't attend shul, it was conceived and understood and appreciated and felt, I think, at least by Chassidish Yidden. I don't know. Some people were feeling that the Eibishter is angry and kicking us out of shul. That never spoke to me, and I don't know. Maybe if you like it, that's good for you. But I think for most people that have been trained by the Baal Shem Tov way of thinking, after 2,000 years of Golus, and the Yidden are still being Yidden and connecting to Torah mitzvahs, the Eibishter is not angry at us and not sending us home. But quite on the contrary, there's something deeper that's going on, and we were sure that we're moving from our little shuls to Kibesi based Tefillah Yakareh L'chol Ha'amim, to the great big shul, Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi. That's the way I perceived it and understood it. And especially, something this unheard of. All shuls in the whole world closed down, including the Kaisel Hamaravi was shut down for about over a week. It was a short period of time that literally no one was there. 770 was shut down. I mean, it's not normal. So obviously, if you can't see this as just the pandemic situation. I mean, obviously, there is Havaya Hu Elokim, that beyond Elokim, beyond the Teva and the externalities of things, there is Havaya, there is the deeper Indian, there is the godly, and the godly, obviously there's something much greater, something cosmic, more than the whole pandemic. I mean, that itself is also not something to dismiss. The fact that not stam a pandemic that is impacting the world, but it impacted the Jewish community so strongly. So many Taira Yidden, beautiful Jews, including them, one of our special Yidden, we want to mention him today over here, Reb Avram Aaron, Reb Yitzchak, may this be, his neshama, his shloishim is coming up this week, I think on Monday. So may this Farbrengen also be l'schus Ilui Nishmasai, and also other special Yidden in Crown Heights and Bechlal and the Jewish world and Lakewood and Borough Park and Williamsburg and Muncie and in Montreal and in all communities in Eretz Yisroel. So many, not Stam Yidden, but Taira Yidden. Really, if I was speaking to different people that have friends, and Dafka, those who passed away were like you call the cream of the crop. We're talking about the unbelievable special Jews. So this couldn't just be, this is not an Indian, a mikra chas v'shalom. It's not just an occurrence. A Yid has to realize there's something very deep over here. But including in that, and I think most obvious in it, is the fact that all the yeshivas and shuls and everything shut down. And I spoke about it a lot in my classes in the past, but I think being that we're kind of like, going back, and shuls are getting back, people are going back, I think it's important that we thought we're going back. We really did. We thought we're going back a few weeks ago. Everybody's going back. And the Abish is saying, not so fast. Like in Crown Heights this week, it's back to normal. No, they canceled the Kadeshim. It was on COL. They canceled the Kadeshim. No Kadeshim. You're not comfortable in going back. We're not going back. So I mentioned today in Shul, during davening, a mimer that I saw, the Alter Rebbe in Parsha Shlach. There's a mimer, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, on the Parsha of Tzitzis. And over there it says 2 times Ani Havaya Elokeichem. It says Ani Hashem Elokeichem once, and then it says Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Again, we concluded Ani Hashem Elokeichem emes, but emes is really not part of the pasuk. Ani Hashem Elokeichem. What does it mean, I am God, your God, twice? So the Alter Rebbe explains the repetition of Ani Hashem Elokeichem. So first understanding what is the deeper inyan of Ani Hashem Elokeichem. So what caught my attention? I was actually learning this mimer in the forest in South Dakota. And I was learning it, and I got so excited about this Nakuda. And I couldn't share it with anybody besides my wife, and I actually didn't share it with her, even though I could have shared it with one person. I was just excited about it. She asked me today, that was such a geschmack of art, why didn't I? When do you think? I said, I thought about it in South. She said, he didn't tell me. I said, okay, yeah, no, everything has his mouth. So what got me excited about that mimer is that the Alter Rebbe is talking very much about when Yidden go to Beis HaKnesses, there is bechlal the pa'ula that a Jew has, the effect that a Yid has on the world, globally, spiritually, cosmically. A Yid has an effect on the world of every mitzvah we do. One Yid, the pasuk, the Frierdiker Rebbe brings in the memorim that I want to talk about soon, the memorim that he said in Yud Beis Taamuz, in 1927, and the Frierdiker Rebbe was released. So during the day of his release, on Yud Beis Taamuz himself, the Frierdiker Rebbe said a mimer, Havaya li b'yoizri. And that mimer, so the Frierdiker Rebbe brings the pasuk of how the Jew, our Yid, is literally controlling the cosmos, controls all of existence. Even the way the conduct of the Eibishter conducts himself with the world, all the way down to how things manifest in the reality, in the chitzonius ha'olamus, in the external reality of things. A Yid controls, meaning the condition of how much light and how much darkness, how strong the klippa is, and how kedusha is, his gabrus. All that is we are the program board. You ever see a board on a master board, and you have like on a plane or in a major computer system, you have all the dials. All the dials is in each and every one of our hearts. Olam nasam b'liboy. There the Frierdiker Rebbe brings the pasuk, Anochi asisi eretz. The Eibishter says, I created the land, v'adam alei barasu. And a person I created, the Eibishter created the person on the land. And so the Frierdiker Rebbe brings that the word barasi is gematria taryag. So the Eibishter says, I created a world, a massive world. As most of you know, I was on a trip now. I saw a big, ginormous world. I didn't see the whole world, but I saw the United States of America. Massive. It's on and on. And the ganze Welt, oilam amloi, everything. Anochi asisi eretz, the Eibishter says, va'adam aleo barasi. But there's a pnimius hakavana. The kavana is you listening to the Farbrengen, me, all of us, Adam, and not a lot of people. It says Adam, one person. The Eibishter gemacht the ganze Welt just for one Yid. And what's the person's job? Barasi is taryag mitzvahs. So every Yid be'etzem, lefi avedasai, lefi his inyanim, is poil and effect and has impact and can cause the whole conditioning of the world and what's going on is all impacted by every single one of us and our state of mind, where we're standing in our avodas Hashem. That's individually. But then there is something even more powerful. And that is not the person as an individual, but the Jewish people as a community. Communal Judaism. Judaism has two parts to it. There is individual Judaism, where Matan Torah, the Eibishter, didn't address us as a community. Even though it stood there 600,000, if there was one Yid that wasn't there couldn't be Matan Torah. So you needed to have 600,000 Jews. You needed to have klolus nishmasi, so not only the Jewish people of that generation, you needed to have all the Jewish people from all the generations. You need to have everybody. But yet, when Hashem spoke, He didn't speak you guys. Hashem never said, you guys put on tefillin. Hashem said, Anoich Hashem alekecho, ich ben deiner Eibishter, I'm your God. So the Eibishter is speaking specifically. So Torah mitzvahs is very specific. In a sense, I heard this from Rabbi Manis Friedman, I enjoyed it. He was saying that one of the meanings of the shutdown, of the shuls being shut down and all this, is that the Eibishter is saying, stop already with communal Yiddishkeit. To realize that you are important, you as an individual, not you with just lost amongst everybody. The Eibishter says, I want you, not in a community seder, I want you in your own seder, sitting alone. If you have a wife, you're sitting with your wife. You have your family, sitting with your wife. If you don't have any, you don't have a wife, you don't have a husband, sitting alone, and you can't go to anybody, I want only you. So that's on the one hand. But mitzad sheni, we always know in Judaism, there is a great chashivas and a great importance to the minyan. There has to be a minyan, is very powerful. What does minyan do? So it says, b'shoshev, when Yidden come together and they come to Beis Knesses and they say, Amen Yehish Me'era. What is one of the things we can't say individually? When I was davening during quarantine, I started davening a whole bunch of stuff in the siddur that I usually never said if I davened b'yechidus. I davened alone. I used to skip all the things like Kriyas HaTorah, Vahibin Sayah, all those things I never said, because if you're not having a minyan, not having a minyan, if it's for a minyan. But then, when there was no minyanim, I said, listen here, just because there's no minyan, these things shouldn't be said. And I realized that most of the stuff you're allowed to say. What he said, Ibn Sayah is a pasuk in the Chumash, you're allowed to say it. Berich Shemei is a passage in Zohar, you can say it. Gadol Hashem Iti is weiter a pasuk in Tehillim. And most of the things you can say, there may be a few things that you shouldn't be saying, because they're tefillos that were instituted to be said, dafka and a minyan, so you can't say it. But most everything else, you can say it. Maybe it's not the minhag to say it, but you could say it. So in any case, but one thing I couldn't say, Yiskadol v'yiskad Shmei Rabba, you can't say. You need to have a minyan. So the Alter Rebbe says in the Maayon, when Yidden get together and we say Amen Shmei Rabba, what does it do? HaKadosh Baruch Hu menane b'roisho. The Eibishter shakes his head. That means that the minyanim, Jews as a collective group getting together, has such an impact. I'm not talking about stam, an impact on the world. It literally is impacting the Eibishter himself, God himself. God is being moved by our Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba. In what way? The Eibishter, Kiviyachol, whatever that means, is shaking his head. What does it mean he's shaking his head? It means, as the Alter Rebbe explains, the head, particularly in this particular meaning, is referring to the skull. Because there is there's the moichen, the intellect, the brain, but the head in this sense is the mamish, literally the head, the part of the head that we call head. When a person says I hit my head, it means the skull, right? So when it says Menanei Berosh, means the Eibishter is moving his head, means the Eibishter is moving his skull. What does it mean God is moving his skull? So in Chassidus it explains that the skull, as it applies to Hashem, how can we even be speaking about a skull regarding God? We know that the Eibishter created us in His image. And from us we can derive. So we have to understand that it's in a way that's infinitely beyond and any kind of image and so on and so forth. It's beyond all this. But still it has a shaykhus. So if we have a skull, it's because there is a skull. The Adam Elyon, the supernal man above, also has a skull. What's a skull? Represents the idea of keser. What's keser? Keser is rotzain. Menanea beroshay means that the Eibishter's rotzain is stimulated. The Eibishter's rotzain is provoked. When we say Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba, we put God in the mood, so to speak. We evoke in Him a desire. What kind of a desire? A desire for the project called creation, for the project called life, for the project called me, you, and everything that's around, our entire existence. Without the Eibishter's interest in our existence, poof, there's nothing. So Menanea B'roishoi means that the Eibishter shakes his head, means that the Eibishter has a rotzain, a desire in the world, in existence. So that's what the Alter Rebbe says is the meaning of Ani Hashem Elokeichem. I am God, and I am the power. Elokim is power. the power of the Eibishter in the world, the power of godliness in the world is stimulated by you. By who? Elekechem, I'm your God. You stimulate me. You get me in the mood. You engage me. Without Yidden going into shuls and saying, Amen Yesh Meid Abba, the Eibishter loses his interest. He has no desire to be connected to the world. When we say Amen, what's mean Yesh Meid Abba? Yesh Meid Abba means that God's name should be drawn down. Yesh Meid Abba, let the great name. Mevorach means it should be drawn down. Maayon, meaning it should reveal itself in all three worlds. In Olam Abriya, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, the Eibishter should manifest. That's what we're saying. So by us saying it, it gets the Eibishter to manifest and to reveal himself. Fine. So the Alter Rebbe says, why does it say twice, Amen Yesh Meid Abba? I'm sorry, why does it say twice, Ani Hashem Elekechem? So the Alter Rebbe says, because there's a difference between how Ani Havaya, how the Hisgalus of Havaya is Bisman Hazeh, and these days, compared to the Hisgalus of Havaya, that's going to be after Mashiach comes. After Mashiach comes, the Ani Hashem Elekechem is going to be so much more potent, so much more powerful. It's going to have such an energy way beyond that. Why? Because now the Gilui Shem Havaya is in a way where those who choose to see him can see him. Those who choose to experience him can experience him. Those that are seeking him, those that are looking for Gottlichkeit, could experience, could have a relay, but Oifen Klali, in general, the world is full of Helam Vehester, is full of concealments and full of blockages. It's not evident, it's not bursting out of every nook and cranny, out of every nakuda in the world that the Eibush, the Havayu Elokim, that God is and he's the power. But after Mashiach comes, as it says, that everybody's going to run, people are going to escape, to hide from the Gilui. It's going to be so overwhelming, so powerful. Why? Because the Gilui is going to come from such a deep place. Hashem's revelation, Hashem is going to be inserting so much more of himself, so to speak, into the cosmos, into creation. And as a result of that kind of investment is not going to be able to be blocked. So the Gilui is going to reach all the way down, as the Alter Rebbe explains, but Olam Hazeh HaGashmi is going to be as conscious of God as it is in Atzilus. Imagine, that's what it is. As the same level of godly revelation, Atzilus is going to be experienced in the physicality of this world. That's the Ani Havaya Lekechem. That's the one of the future. And that too you're causing. You're causing the Ani Hashem Lekechem Bizman Hazeh. You're causing Ani Havaya Lekechem, that's going to be in the future. So the way I was learning the Maimar, I said that it's amazing. Now it makes sense to me why suddenly shuls were canceled. Why was it canceled suddenly? All davening was canceled. Because what we've been doing in going to shul for thousands of years is we were causing HaKadosh Baruch Hu Menanei B'Roshai that Hashem's Rotzain was provoked. What level of Rotzain? The Rotzain of God, of godliness, that brings the Eibishter into the world in a manner that allows for some concealment. It allows for the world to continue to be a natural world, a world where you're not seeing the Eibishter in a very tangible, real way. But when it comes time for what? For there to be the next level on Yashem Lekechem. So the old Amen Yehesh Meid Abba had to stop. If I had to say, I don't think ever in history there was a complete suspension of Amen Yehesh Meid Abba. But in the last few months there was a complete suspension of Amen Yehesh Meid Abba. Why? Because the new Amen Yehesh Meid Abba that we're going to be mamshich now is the one of the future. The Gilui of the Eibishter as it is Yemoisa Mashiach, which is what we're hoping for now. So that's why, as I mentioned earlier, there's no just going back. There's no going back. Nothing in Yiddishkeit, nothing in the world should go back to what was. We have to be completely transformed people now. And our focus and our entire aspiration and excitement and is forward thinking. Forward thinking is Geula. Geula, that's it. And if it wasn't enough, the COVID and the Corona and all this Meshigas was not enough to shake us up. So now we see the restlessness that's going on in the United States of America, the tension, it's like you can sense the Ad Kedei Kach that people in my shul today were telling me that people are moving out of state. My guys were telling me here. They're leaving California, they're leaving to other states. It means you can sense that people feel that the earth beneath them is burning. I don't want to compare it, but it's a little bit like there it was in the negative sense. Now I believe it's not negative in any way. It's because Golus is telling us, Fartik, it's time to move to Eretz Yisrael, it's time for the Geula, it's time. But similar to the way it was burning in the 1930s under the Yidden in Germany, people felt the earth was burning beneath them. Those who at least felt it. Some people were numb, didn't realize what's going on. Baruch Hashem, I don't think there's a threat for the Jewish people in the United States of America. The Eibishter wird uns alle upheaten, and the Eibishter will watch us all in Yisroel. We're not running, we're not escaping, we're going to go with Mashiach. But the idea is at least that we should shift our minds and recognize that, if we were comfortable, if last year or 2 years ago, those who, there were a couple of people excited about Mashiach, but the rest of us were kind of like comfortable and set and believe that we have another 20, 30 years that we can kind of build our moistus and build up, whatever it is we're doing. And now I think that the occurrences in Tafshin Pei, after we've hit a whole new level, as I mentioned a lot in the beginning of this year, that Pei is L'mayla Maderech HaTeva, it's 8, it's 80, it's moving into, and it's taka happened. Not that I'm trying to say, oh, look, I was right, but Poyal Mamish had nothing to do with me saying it. It's we're coming into Pays, and in a sense I was wrong, because I was telling you Mashiach is going to be Mamish, and so far we're still sitting in Gullus, meaning at least in our vivid eyes we don't fully see the Giyula, and that's not enough. But the idea of Pei is that basically we can't just chas v'shalom, let me put it this way, chas v'shalom, we should adapt to this situation and get comfortable with this. And this is the new life. Yeah, everybody's going to walk around with masks for another couple of years, social distancing, and we're going to make ourselves, we're going to kind of settle into Golus with all the inconveniences that it has and all the limitations, and we'll make Zoom yeshivas, and everybody will be on the phone, and again. We the Jewish people are very good at adapting. We've been that for thousands of years. We were constantly being uprooted from place to place. So chas v'shalom, we should adapt to this situation as well and make ourselves. Now, that's for sure, like the Rebbe taught us, and the Chassidus has taught us all the time, that in every situation we have to make the best out of it and harness all of our koiches. Like when the Yidden went from place to place in the Mishkan, they had to build, even if they stayed on the place only for a night, they had to set up camp. So for sure we have to set up camp. And we can't just say we're waiting for Mashiach, we're sitting on our suitcases, and we're just waiting for Mashiach. That's not what the Eibishter wants. In every situation we have to make the best out of it. But the chas v'shalom, we shouldn't feel a fire burning beneath us. There has to be that sense that the Geula is here, Mashiach is upon us. And it's up to each and every one of us to drive the final peg, to drive the final inyan. That's what we're holding now. So when it comes to Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz, Chag HaGeula, where the koiches of Geula, the koiches of Mashiach, are in its full potency, they're in its full power, more than any regular day, as we're still going to see today. So in a time like this, especially in a year after everything that we've gone through this past year, we should tap into Geula, to the Geula of these days, and may it merit that just from the Farbrengen and talking about it and all of this, should already experience the complete redemption. L'chaim al bracha. L'chaim. A niggin.
Masai Kosima Lekshay Yafut Somne Sakhkhutsa Ey Masai Kosima Lekshay Yafut Somne Sakhkhutsa Masai Kosima Lekshay Yavutso Masai Kosima Lekshay Yavutso Ay da 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 ya ay da 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 ay da 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 ya ay da 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 ya ay da 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 Ay, 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 Masai Kosima, Lekshe Yafutsu, Menesachachuotza. Ay, 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 Masai Kosima, Lekshe Yafutsu, Menesachachuotza. Masai, 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 Masai. Oy lekshe yafutsu.
Masai, 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 Kosima, lekshe yafutsu.
Chaim. So there's two pirushim in the word social distancing. One pirush is that we have to be distant. You can't be together. That's the opposite of kedusha, because kedusha is achdus, unity. So the simple meaning of social distancing is the opposite of kedusha. There's distance. There's richuk. Richuk between one yid and another yid. It's not what the Eibishter wants. That's not Kedusha. The other pirush of social distancing is that no distance in the world, that even in the distance, there is social. That means that we can be together even. So take a look. We have a Farbrengen over here. It used to be that in order to have a Farbrengen, everybody has to come together in one place. You all should come together in the same place. And then obviously it has its limitations. Who can come? This one can't come. Whatever. You have to babysit the kids. You can't this. You have to rush. So there's all the obstacles that made it that the only way you can be together is if you come actually physically close. But now the Eibishter made gewaldig that no matter where you are, you can be everywhere, anywhere in the whole world, and yet we can sit together. Even if you're distant, they're still social. So that's the kavanah primis of all this, that we should be unified and be unified with each other, all Yidden, no matter where and when, alle zusammen, all the time. L'chaim. So Matzah Shabbos is a minute to tell the story of the Baal Shem Tov. This week is going to be the yard site of the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. The 15th of Taamuz is the yard site of the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. And as we know, the Orach Chaim HaKadosh was a contemporary of the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov very much wanted to meet the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Orach Chaim HaKadosh lived in Eretz Yisrael. He was the head of the Mekubalim in Eretz Yisrael. Baal Shem Tov was in Mezhebush. One of the reasons the Baal Shem Tov wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael was simply to meet the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. And it says that one of them was the nefesh of Mashiach, the other one was the ruach of Mashiach. And if the two of them would come together, ruach and nefesh would be these galas of neshama of Mashiach. And then you'd have the Aran of Mashiach over here, and the Geula would be here. For whatever reason, time hasn't come yet, and they prevented the Baal Shem Tov from going. The Baal Shem Tov was sitting Shalosh Hudas, and during Shalosh Hudas, he said, Kava ner hamaravi. It has been extinguished. The flame of the West, referring to the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, passed away. After Shabbos, the Baal Shem Tov explained what he meant when he said Kava Nera Maravi, that sadly the Orach Chaim HaKadosh passed away. The Baal Shem Tov explained how he knew. I don't think anybody questioned him how he knows, because Baal Shem Tov knew a lot of things. But in this particular case, he explained how he knew. He said that there is a certain kavanah, there's a certain mystical meditation and thought that one has during Netilas Yadayim, that the Baal Shem Tov said, I always wanted to achieve this knowledge, this information, of this particular kavanah of Netilas Yadayim. But it's only revealed l'chad bedara, it's only revealed to one person in the generation. And therefore, I didn't merit, because it was revealed to the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, and I was not privy to this phenomenal secret. By Shalosh Shudas, when I washed for Shalosh Shudas, they revealed it to me. And once the Baal Shem Tov said they revealed to him this secret, he knew that the Orach Chaim can't possibly be alive, because there's only one keeper of that secret alive. The Baal Shem Tov received that great soid of Netilas Yadayim. Why is it the Dafka Netilas Yadayim and this? I don't know, but this is what it was. But in any case, tzaddikim look out for each other and are very much aware of each other, and they connect. And when one passes on, and he passes, like you say, the baton to the next tzaddik. So today I became very aware of something which I never was aware of before, either because, for whatever reason, that wasn't the time that I should be aware of it, or because I didn't learn. For whatever reason, I lately I'm noticing more that the Eibishter is basically beneath all of our thoughts, and we obviously where the Eibishter gives us bechira to choose to think, but it says that the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, when it talks about a negative thing, Hashem Omaloi Kalel, that when David HaMelech said about Shimi ben Gera, that Hashem told him to curse me. Hashem never told Shimi ben Gera to curse David. So it says that the Nefilas HaMachshava, the currents of the thought to Shimi ben Gera, and he could have rejected it, but the fact that the thought occurred to him to curse David, that came from above. Al Machshavas come from above, and therefore, especially here's the thing: if you're a public agent, which means if you feel that most of what you're here to do is to inspire others, then hopefully we can become a channel. And we become a channel. We're like hopefully the Eibishter sends us the machshavas that we need to think. So this Shabbos I had like thoughts that I've never had before. It came about because I decided to learn something that I've never learned before. It was Shabbos Yud Beis Taamuz. I said, let me learn the Maimorim that the Farbrengen Rebbe said in the original Yud Beis Taamuz. So I taught Shabbos in the morning. I taught the Maimer the Farbrengen Rebbe said. I saw that in Tafresh Pei Zayin 1927 there is about 4 or 5 Maimorim. One of them is Min HaMeitzar. That's a Maimer that the Farbrengen Rebbe said on Rosh Chodesh Taamuz. That's before Gimel Taamuz. That's while he's still in Shpolerka. Farbrengen Rebbe said a Maimer. I have no idea to who he said that Maimer. And it's interesting, it doesn't say on the bottom in the Sefer Memarim, like, who, what, where, and when, how this Maimer, unless the Farbrengen Rebbe who heard it, who recorded it, or later the Farbrengen Rebbe himself wrote it down. I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't say. It only says one thing. This is Blo'oid Lefnei HaShichur. It's before the Shichur. It's a Maimer Min HaMeitzah. That Maimer I didn't learn. I don't know what it says there. Then the next Maimer is Shabbos Parshas Chukas Balak. Maybe it's Shabbos only. It's for sure Balak. I don't remember if it was Chukas Balak, but it was for sure Balak. Shabbos Parshas Balak, while he was in Kostroma, that means they sent to Farbrengen Rebbe for 3 years away in exile. He said a Maimer. And that Maimer, interesting, is the heading of the Maimer is Gefen mi Mitzrayim Tasiya. A grapevine from Egypt you've made travel. Gefen mi Mitzrayim Tasiya. That's the Maimer. And that Maimer I taught today in the morning. I didn't finish the whole Maimer. Then later in the afternoon I was able to finish the Maimer. And then the next Maimer that's in Tafresh Pei Zayin is the Maimer that he said on Yud Beis Taamuz. Remember, he was given notice that he was released on Yud Beis Taamuz, but they didn't give him the official papers because it was some kind of a holiday until the next day, until Yud Gimel Taamuz, which then they were able to give him the official papers and he was free. So on Yud Beis Taamuz, already the Frierdiker Rebbe said a mimer. So learning these two Maimarim, and I learned that today, and then later there is on Yud Gimel Tammuz, and Shabbos Pashas Pinchas, the Frierdiker Rebbe said already, the two Maimarim on Baruch HaGoy Melech Hayavim Tovis. The Maimer that he said on Yud Beis Tammuz is Havaya Liba Oizroi, Hashem is to me amongst those who assist me, Vani Era B'Soinoi, and I will see in my enemies. What I noticed learning the Maimarim is a very interesting idea. I noticed that the Frierdiker Rebbe is spending both Maimarim, both the one that he said while he was still, before he was noticed, between Gimel Tammuz and Yud Beis Tammuz, when he was, officially still going to be in Galus for 3 years, in exile for 3 years, he said that Maimer. Plus the next Maimer, Havayali B'Yozroi, both of them, the Frierdiker Rebbe is very, very much referring to and talking about Sfiras HaMalchus. He's talking about, in the first Maimer, he's talking a lot about the idea of Eimesai Hu God, the Olam HaDibur, the world of speech. Eimesai Hu Gadol, when is the Eibush the Great? Kishehu Be'ir Elokeinu. It's a pasuk, God Lavaya Be'ir Elokeinu, in the Monday Shir Shal Yoim. So the Frierdiker Rebbe is talking very much about Olam HaDibur, about Malchus, and that the godless of the Eibishter only reveals itself when it expresses itself through Dibur, through speech, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about that soon. And then, which is the inyan of Sfiras HaMalchus. And in the next Maimer, he's very, very much busy with David HaMelech, with how David HaMelech was able to withstand his trials and tribulations, and so on and so forth. And the power of Malchus, if I need tefillah, the birurim that Malchus does, fascinating mimer. The Frierdiker Rebbe's mimer and Bechlal, I haven't learned too many of them because I find it difficult to connect to the beginning to the end. Sometimes it feels like he's just going off into all tangents and so on and so forth. And if you like to see a beginning and an end and a certain structure, it's a little hard to follow. So Bechlal, I should probably learn the Frierdiker Rebbe's mimer more. I haven't learned enough of his Maimarim. And now, this Shabbos, I was learning these Maimarim, and I got the sense, a little bit, if you can say, a little bit of a bird's eye view in the sense that I think you can look at things differently after 93 years. As you're looking now it's hard to say when it comes to a Rebbe. It's one thing, first of all, to understand the Maimer. To understand the Maimer, it's one thing. You have to daven to the Eibishter. The Eibishter should have Rachmanis, that godliness should go into your head, and you should absorb the Maimer. First to absorb it in your head, then to absorb it from your head into your heart. That's another Avodah. First, v'yadaita hayoyim, you should know it. Then v'shavosel uvavecha, you should bring it into your heart. That's the next phase. And both you need a lot of siyata d'shmaya. And especially, if you want to start investigating what is the kavanah, the deeper kavanah, the Maimer that is not even verbalized. So that's already a little dangerous, and who am I to start probing the Frierdiker Rebbe's kavanah and a Maimer, what he's intending. However, looking back after everything that we know now, what the Rebbe taught us in the 40 years that the Rebbe's been teaching us, and all the fascinating Maimarim, I think there is something over there that is very unique and very special, and tells us a lot about the pnimius of Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz. What's it really all about? But I'll first make a little introduction. And that is that for me personally, Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz is a very big Yom Tiv, because this is my connection to Chabad, started on Yud Beis Tammuz. Exactly like this year, it was a Friday, it came out on Shabbos, Yud Beis Tammuz, Pashas Chukas Bolok, and I went to Kfar Chabad for a Shabbos. I told my story and my whole kiruv to Chabad at other occasions, and I'm not going to do it now, but it's exactly 31 years ago. 31 has a certain gilui. 31 is related to a certain gilui because 31 is the name Kale. In Chesed Kale Kol Hayoim. Chesed, the name Chesed is related to the name Kale, is the name of Chesed. So after 31 years of connection to a tzaddik and connection to a derech of avodas Hashem and so on and so forth, hopefully one should hope and and Hashem should bless, to have more gilui, more revelation. So in Chassidus, I actually saw that what's the significance of number 31, Chesed Kel. So in different Maimarim explains that it's a meiser, it's 10th, from the Shai Olamais. There's 310 worlds, and a 10th of that is which is Chachma and Bina together. It says, the pasuk says, Knei Chachma, Knei Bina. It says, Knei Chachma, acquire Bina. The 310 worlds is composed of the two Kaneh, Knei, because Kaneh is 155. The other Kaneh is again 155. 155 and 155 is 310. So Chachma and Bina. Now, from Chachma and Bina is infinite, is Ein Sof. Chachma and Bina is Lamayla Maseder Ishtalshalos, in the sense that, the world is created from the 7 emotions. It's more shaykhs. Chachma and Bina, Chabad is Meichen La'atzmai. Chabad is higher. What hashpah can come from Chabad down? Only a 10th. It says a chelik asiri, a 10th of it can be nisgala. That's the chesed kale. That's the giloi. Chesed is giloi. The giloi of the 310 oilamos, of Shai oilamos, which Hashem is going to reveal in the future for the tzaddikim, the giloi of that, which is, as we said, a giloi of Chachma Bina. So for me, coming to Chassidus Chabad, which is Chachma Bina, and after 31 years, so hopefully we can merit some gilui of Chesed Kale. Now, interesting thing. So I noticed last year, I paid attention to this, and last year I went and I learned the Sikh. I was wondering, the Shabbos that I came to Lubavitch, which was in Kvar Chabad, I wonder if I can find some Ramazim for me in the Farbrengen that the Rebbe spoke that Shabbos. So I took our Tashim Mem test. That was the year that it happened, and I looked at the Farbrengen. I forgot already what it says, what I learned last year. Totally forgot. Now, in the end of Shabbos, I just looked a little bit, and I just looked at the end. And I noticed something interesting. The Rebbe over there is talking about Parshas Balak and Parshas, as he calls it, and the Rebbe talks about the idea that Mashiach is very, very, very strongly emphasized in this parsha. He brings from the Rambam, V'sham niba b'shnei ha-Mashiachim. And over there he was menabim regarding the two Mashiach, which is referring to David HaMelech and Mashiach. And the Rebbe says an interesting thing. He says, Al Yedei limud b'inyane geula. Through learning the inyanim of geula. Now, as far as I know, the Rebbe's mitzvah of learning inyanim geula Mashiach started 2 years later in Tafshin Nun Aleph. Pashat Tazriya Mitzayra, that's when the Rebbe introduced that we should all, that now, as a preparation for Geula, Ezu Derech Yishar, Rebbe says, Ezu Derech Yishar, what's the path? Adam, that after we finish Shleimus Avodah, the Rebbe says, everything is ready for Mashiach. What's the final path to make it all happen in learning in Yana Geula Mashiach? So the Rebbe started in Tafshin Nun Aleph. But in Tafshin Mem Tes, and I never saw it earlier. Maybe, again, I'm not bucky in the Sichas to tell you, I have absolutely, when I learn one sikha, I only know that sikha. I don't have a memory of this sikha says that. So I don't know, those that are bigger bikiyim than me can tell me, but I don't think there's been mentioned before that on the emphasis of learning in Yana Geula Mashiach. One of the inyanim that I've been involved in the last few years to a great degree is to learn and to inspire teaching Geula Mashiach. So the Shabbos that I came to Lubavitch, the Rebbe is talking about learning in Yana Geula Mashiach. So I feel that was a little clue for me, and a little bit of a connection. So in any case, based on that, I do want to say that I think, and this is again, these are my own thoughts. It's a Farbrengen, so I'm not giving a share now. So I'm not telling you what it says in books. I'm just giving you my own hergation, my own thoughts, and see if it resonates with you. To me, it seems like that the whole geula of Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz, even though it happened in the Frierdiker Rebbe's lives, it's not about the Frierdiker Rebbe and his inyan. It's already ha'achana for the next Nasi. In general, Bechlal, the 6th and the 7th Rabbeim are locked in an inseparable bond, more than all the other Rabbeim. All the Rabbeim, each Nasi, of course, is connected and attached to the previous Nasi. But when it comes to the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Rebbe, they are like Ketrein Terein Rei and Deloy Misparshin. These are two friends that do never separate. You can't separate Bein HaDveikim. They go hand in hand. Why? So spiritually, those who learn Chassidus know that the Friediger Rebbe is number 6, and his name is Yosef. So therefore, he represents Sfiras HaYesoid. The Rebbe is the 7th generation of Sfiras HaMalchus. And Yesoid and Malchus are joined together and bonded together with crazy glue. You can't disconnect Yesoid and Malchus. They're attached. They're absolutely connected. So Bechlal, the Friediger Rebbe and the Rebbe are inseparable. But primarily, I think the Geula. Sami, you can lay down a little, and then maybe you'll fall asleep. It's okay. And the Friediger Rebbe's whole Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Yud Taamuz is already hachana for the 7th generation. Just why? Just simply in a simple nakuda. Because of Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz, the previous Rebbe left Russia and eventually came to America. It wasn't immediately. The Friediger Rebbe spent 10 years in Poland, but eventually he came to the United States of America. And there was the uprooting of Lubavitch from where it's been, it has been set and has taken root for so many generations. And to uproot it and transform it to America, that happened as a result of the Friediger Rebbe's arrest. And you can trace it back already to Rostov during the First World War, when the Rebbe Rashab already, like the Friediger Rebbe says, Eser Golias Golsa Lubavitch, the 10 exiles that Lubavitch was exiled, that the Rebbeim began their journey. But that, at least it was still in Russia. The fact that it left Russia and it came to America, that was related to the Friediger Rebbe being arrested and eventually freed, but he had to leave Russia, and then he came to the United States. And we know the Friediger Rebbe himself said that America is already the Berurim of his son-in-law. It belongs to the 7th Rebbe. And as the Rebbe explains in the famous Sichos of Chavches Sivan and so on and so forth, that's already the final shlav. The final shlav of lifting up Chatzi Kader Atachten, lifting up the world from its lowest rung. And the Rebbe explains over there, it's interesting in the Maimer of Chavches and the Sich of Chavches Sivan, the Rebbe explains that Vayasuru as Eretz Canaan, that avoida is shayach to Sfiras HaMalchus. Eretz, he says Vayasuru, it says Pasha Shalach, Vayasuru, you should bring Yisroel in Eretz, you should bring out the quality that Malchus Tafka brings out Lidei Gilui, all the power of all the previous spheres. So the Rebbe says, Hafatzas HaMayonis, the greatest spreading of Chassidus, the greatest explosion of Hafatzas of Mayonis of the Baal Shem Tov, which is Teres of Mashiach and so on and so forth, is dafka going to come from the lowest rung, from the United States of America. And even though the Rebbe is the last of a chain of 7 Rabbeim, and L'churawat, he's just passing on kind of the energies of the previous Rabbeim, but the Rebbe says, Dibur is Megale all the other spheres. In other words, you don't know what's really happening in someone's chesed, in someone's gevura, or someone's, until it comes lidei deep, lidei giloi. So Malchus has to be megala everything. That's what the Rebbe says. And the Rebbe's mekasherit in that sicha, very interesting, dafka with the United States of America. The birudim that starts after the Friediger Rebbe comes here. But where does that really start? It started on Yud Beis Taamuz. And the real start of that started on Gimel Taamuz. And Gimel Taamuz, as we know, is the Rebbe's day. So, you see, the Friediger Rebbe's Geula, that's where you see that the Friediger Rebbe's Geula and the Rebbe's Geula, and the Rebbe is makusher and attached in an absolute, in an inseparable way. So therefore, it's interesting, if you take a look at the Friediger Rebbe's Maimorim that he said during that period of time, you see how he is just preparing the next stage. I mean, you get the energy. I would recommend learn the mimer and see if you feel in that mimer what I was seeing in that mimer. The whole thing is about Sfiras HaMalchus. It's about the next stage. It's about oisiyos. It's about letters, words. That's what Sfiras HaMalchus is all about. The Giluyim of the whatever. That you can see it very strongly, and that's why the mimer. Take a look. What's the mimer that the Friedrich Rebbe said in Kastrama, in Golas? Gefen mimitzrayim tasiya. The vineyard is moving. It's amazing. And the Friedrich Rebbe explains how the Gefen is referring to the Jewish people as a whole. They're a Gefen. The Talmidei Chachamim, they're the grapes. The Balabatim, meaning the supporters of Torah, they are the vines that are holding the clusters of the grapes. The Amaratzim, which are the unlearned people, they are the olives, not the olives, I mean the leaves, and the leaves protect the grapes. And the Friedrich Rebbe goes into the whole explanation of why the Amaratzim are protecting the Talmidei Chachamim and what that means. And then there's even the Knoi Shabai, which are the I think it's called the Trendles, or what's the word? Something. What is it? They hold up trestles, which hold up the thing. They're the reikonim, they're the empty ones. But what's the teichen of the mimer? Teichen of the mimer is that the Eibishter is moving the Geffen. See, the Friedrich Rebbe is now going into exile. He's going on a journey. He's leaving. And again, a Rebbe knows he's not just leaving. He's going technically to Golis. He's uprooting the entire the Beis Hamikdash, the Ashras Hashchina, until that point was where, and its headquarters where was in Russia. That's where, because as the Rebbe explains, what the Gemara says, Galu Bavel Ganu Shchina Imayim. Where is the Shechina? Shechina is together with the Nasi Hadar. Until that time, from the Baal Shem Tov onward, until the Friedrich Rebbe, until the Nasi Hadar was in Russia. So where was the Shechina? The Shechina was there. Now came the time, Gefen mi Mitzrayim Tasiya. The Gefen is moving. And so that's the first mimer. All about Gefen mi Mitzrayim Tasiya, and the movement of it. But again, in that mimer, if you look inside, you'll see that he starts just talking how the ultimate Gilui of Elokus is going to be Dafka Be'ir Elokeinu. Dafka when it's going to come out into the world of Oisiyos, of words, of speech. Bechlal, if you take a look, just the Maimer Amuzgar, the Rabbeim, the Chabad Rabbeim, I mean, we have zero hasaga in who they are. And their hasagas, their knowledge, their understanding, their emotions, their inner worldly of experience. But the interesting thing about them is that they remained a lot in their inner world. They said Maimarim, but right? The Rebbe is the seventh Rebbe. On the one hand, he was the biggest mystery of all the Rabbeim. No one knew him personally. But Mitzat Sheni, the Rebbe, there is no Rebbe that spoke so much. Words and words and words. Farbrengens after Farbrengen. Not just saying a mimer, but hours. And not some does the Rebbe talk. But the Rebbe, if you see, he talks out every little detail, shebe detail, and detail of detail. This diburim and this diburim. And obviously, we can't be fools. These are tikkunim in all the Eilamas. These are tikkunim in all of existence. We have no idea what the Rebbe was doing with his dibur. But the Rebbe is Malchus Peh. This is the seventh one. This is Olam HaDibur of Kedusha. So the Friedrich Rebbe is talking about the real godless of Havaya is going to come out. Kishehu be'ir Elokeinu. More than that, one of the inyanim that you see in the Rebbe Dafka is that the Rebbe was the one who brought the Jewish people to the final expression of the deed of the mitzvah. Chabad Chassidus in the earlier generations, I'm looking at it, let's just analyze Chabad for a moment, was very much into the inner experience of the inner world of a chassid. Meditation, the deep feelings of emotion, Avos Hashem Hashem. Now, the Rebbe is not that Chas v'Shalom, the Rebbe didn't ask of it, the Rebbe was building on everything that was there before. It's not that we have an excuse and say nowadays, Amaiso Iker, and we can ignore Chas v'Shalom, the whole Avodah Pnimis. That's not what I'm saying. But the shift and the emphasis and the focus became on getting a Jew to do a mitzvah. A Jew. In other words, having Elokus, the whole rich, infinite, powerful world of divinity, of divine, it shouldn't remain in the inner world of the experience of the heart and the mind, but everything should make its way outward to expression. That's what Malchus is. That's what Mashiach is. That the Eibishter will finally reveal himself in the most physical element, in the most outer crust of existence. For that it takes, in order for godliness to reveal itself in the outer crust of existence, it takes first a whole bunch of mitzvah observance which are the kalim, which create that keli for that to happen. So the Rebbe is that mitzvah campaigner who's going to get mitzvahs being done. So that's the idea of Gadol Havaya Weir, Be'ir Elekenu Dafka in the world of Oisius. And the Friedrich Rebbe is saying that Maimer when he's in Kastrama, meaning when he's still in Golos, but here's the idea. But here's the Nakuda. Let me just conclude this idea. We'll say L'chaim, but the Friedrich Rebbe's Geula in Gimel Taamuz, and then in Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz. There's ways of looking at it. One can look at it. The Friedrich Rebbe is a big tzaddik, and he is a leader amongst the Jewish people. Happens to be that he is the most courageous leader of his generation, in the sense that he was the only one that was going to take on the forces that were going to anti-Torah and mitzvahs in a way of total Mesiras Nefesh. And he sends all of Chassidim out to fight this battle. All right, so he's a great tzaddik, and then later the Rebbe comes, and the Rebbe is also fortifying the Jewish people and giving them koiches and giving them strength, and fine. It's part of the story of the Jewish people, and so on and so forth. You can see it that way, and that's gewaldig, that's good. But as I mentioned to you, my coming to Lubavitch on that Shabbos, and as the Rebbe says, you should learn in Yana Geula Mashiach. My take on it all, it's not my take. It's obviously, if anybody learns Chassidus, I think, especially the Rebbe's Sichos, especially the Sichos of the Rebbe of the last year, can see that we're talking about not just a strengthening of Torah and mitzvahs, but we're talking about a powerful force of Moshiach and Geula that was coming through the Rabbeim and reaching its climax with the Friedrich Rebbe, and then reaching its climax with the Rebbe, and particularly in the last years of the Rebbe's Nesius that we've seen in Nun Aleph. So the Geula of the Friedrich Rebbe in Russia was really I think, again, if I'm able to compare this to the Geula, to the previous redemption, to the going out of Mitzrayim, I would say like follows. What was the point when the Jewish people went from Golus to Geula in Mitzrayim? What was the Nekuda when did it change from Golus to Geula? Now obviously by Makas B'chayris. Until Makas B'chayris, the Yidden were still enslaved. By Makas B'chayris, bang, midnight, they were free. In a sense, you can say they weren't really free then. They had to wait till the morning, because they weren't allowed to leave till the morning. In the morning they were free. But then you can say they weren't really free yet. Why? Because the Mitzrayim was still coming after them. So when? By Shvi Pesach, by Kriyas Yamsuf, and when the Mitzrayim were drowned in the sea, that was the completion of the Geula. What do you see? You see the Geula comes in Shlovim. It doesn't come in just a 1 second complete Geula. And in a sense, you can say even then wasn't complete, because you're not free until you receive the Torah. Right? But really, let's go a little deeper. I think the moment of the Geula didn't even happen by Makas B'chayris. Obviously, once Moshe Rabbeinu comes on the scene to Mitzrayim, is already Geula. But at which point? When the Eibishter has his encounter with Moshe Rabbeinu at the Sneh. When the Eibishter reveals himself to Moshe Rabbeinu at the Sneh, and he appoints Moshe, as he says, V'gam shamati es nakas b'nei Yisroel. I heard the cries of the Jewish people, and I remember my covenant, and I'm now sending you to come and to take them out of Mitzrayim. That's the nekudas hamayver. That's the nekudas of. That's what I'm saying. This is the transition when we're moving from Golus to Geula. Now, even though the Jewish people in Mitzrayim don't even know anything, the Jewish people in Mitzrayim are still vaya'anchu b'nei Yisrael ma'avoda. The Jewish people are still krechtzing, and they're still crying out, and they're still being brutal. And even more than that, later the Golus gets harsher and brutal and terrible. But yet, the Geula is here already. Why? Because in the Nasi Yisrael, and the leader of the Jewish people, the Geula happened already. The Eibishter appointed him from being a regular human being, or even a Rosh B'nai Yisrael, to becoming the power of the Goyal. I think, regarding the Geula of the Jewish people, the moment of the Geula really took place on Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz, on the deepest inner point. Why? If you think about it, during the Friedrich Rebbe's arrest, when the Frierdiker Rebbe was thrown into prison. And that was, if you can point, the lowest point of the exile. Bechlal, the late 1800s, at the beginning of the 1900s, you can see the Golus reached the peak. The Sinas Yisroel, the hatred to the Jewish people, the Redifas Hadas, the persecution of the Jewish people. And then later came the Holocaust. You see, it was all we're talking about the thickening and the thickening. In other words, the Golus is reaching the forces of Klippa and the forces of exile in terms of their letting out their wrath and their animosity and hatred and force against Sep Zuda Yisrael, against that small wandering sheep. It reached its zenith, its highest point, in that period of time. It was the darkest time of Jewish history. 6 million Jews murdered in the gas chambers. The Russian Jews, a few million Jews being blocked from any type of connection to Torah and mitzvahs, all within a short period of time. You're talking about the darkest of the darkest. And amidst of that all, the forces of Klippa gang up against the leader, the tzaddik, the Nasi, the Mordechai tzaddik, so like the Rebbe compares him, the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation. And they take him into their cellars, into their dungeons, and they're ready to God forbid, extinguished Neiroi Shel Yisroel, the lamp of the Jewish people. And the Frierdiker Rebbe, with his unbelievable, like it says this week in Bilam says, Kora Shochav Kari Kolovi. The Frierdiker Rebbe is like a lion, like a young lion. And he's not nispol from them, and he fights them, and he roars, and he breaks them at their core. The Golus then was broken. The moment, in other words, in Bepnimius, I'm not talking Bechitzonius. Bechitzonius, there was still going to be a Holocaust. Bechitzonius, there was going to be all the bloodshed. Bechitzonius, there's still going to be, there's going to be all the antifadas and the terrorism and the suffering and the pain and all this is yet to come. But you realize the world and existence is based on layers upon layers upon layers. In the inner point of existence, the Klippa was broken, was destroyed. The Frierdiker Rebbe overpowered. The power of Kedusha overpowered the power of Klippa. And that's why you're going to see, if you look at the Maimer Havaya Liba Oizroi, you can see the Frierdiker Rebbe is talking about how Klippa, the forces of darkness, where they're yonik their chayas from, where they take their chayas, either from the makif above or from the ribuit tzimtzumim below, which means different various places. And the Frierdiker Rebbe is talking about cutting them off, literally disconnecting them. So, because that's what he's doing. He's basically he's up against the Golus, and he's breaking the Golus. It's going to take a few generations, but he's paving the way for Dor Hashvi, for the 7th generation, for the next leader, whose avodah is to complete. That's interesting. I'm just going to complete with this for now, before we take a little break, with this one nakuda, is if you took a look taka at the Maimer Havaya Liba Oizroi, the Frierdiker Rebbe is still saying, while he's in Kostroma, he brings the Medrash over there where it says, Eis Hanitzanim Niru Ba'aretz, the blossoms are already beginning to see. You can see in the land. You can start seeing the fruits. They're beginning to blossom. Eis Hazamir Higia, the time of singing has arrived. Koil HaToyer, the sound of the Torah means the leader, the one that. I didn't look it up in right now the Pirush of the Pasuk because the Frierdiker Rebbe doesn't give the simple Pirush. He only gives the Pirush of the Medrash. Koil HaToyer Nishma Be'ertzenu. Okay, it's a Pasuk in Shir Hashirim. So the Frierdiker Rebbe starts saying that what does it mean? Eis Hazamir Higia. The time, he says, Higia Eis Geulasan Shel Yisrael. The time of the Geula of the Jewish people has arrived. Eis Hazamir Higia. It's time to cut away the Orla, which means the Klippas. It's time to cut them off completely. Koil HaToyer Nishmar Be'ertzenu, that Koil Shemelach HaMoshiach. So here in Kostroma, the Frierdiker Rebbe is already talking about the sound, the voice of Melech HaMashiach. In other words, really what's going on is the Geula of Melech HaMashiach is already happening. The koiches of Malchus Beis David are already wreaking havoc and destroying the klippas. You see that the Frierdiker Rebbe, in 1990, when the Rebbe spoke that this man of Geula is here, the Rebbe basically was pointing to the fall of communism. Now, the fall of communism happened 70 years later after the previous Rebbe came out of jail. But the Rebbe saw it all as a continuation of Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz. In other words, what the Frierdiker Rebbe did then, he already, let me put it this way. You have this massive building, and someone comes and he dislodges one stone or one of the beams at the bottom. He removes 2 screws. The building is still standing. Business as usual. The elevators are working. People are going. But deep inside the building, it's like the termites are eating. It's beginning to weaken, and then 70 years later, the building comes collapsing down. The Frierdiker Rebbe then shattered and broke the Golus. He broke the forces of Edom. He broke the forces of darkness at that moment. And he was already preparing and therefore, he's talking about Koil HaToynezem, Koil HaShamelech HaMashiach. And the entire Teichen of the Maimer is all about David HaMelech and how David HaMelech overcame his enemies. You get the sense that Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz is not just a celebration of the powers, the victory of good over evil. It's the final victory. And therefore, when it comes Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz this year, it is so essential and so important that we realize that this is the day to connect each and every one of us, to prepare ourselves for the Geula in a much deeper way, in a much stronger way. Be'ez Hashem, I'd like to still, if I have a chance, still today, point out a couple of nakudas in the Maimer that really elucidate this idea, how the Geula of the previous Rebbe was really the beginning of the return of Malchus Beis David and the powers, and that's why it comes up Parshas Balak, because Parshas Balak is when we talk about, as the Rambam says, V'sham niba b'shnei ha-mashiachim. Over there, he's misnabe b'shnei ha-mashiachim. Now you can say Shnei ha-mashiachim is like the Rambam says, David and Melech ha-mashiach. Shnei ha-mashiachim can also be Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, which, as we know, is very strongly connected to the previous Rebbe and the Rebbe, which the Frierdiker Rebbe's name is Yosef, and so on and so forth. L'chaim al-bracha. L'chaim. Ay, 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 da-da-da, ay, 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 da-da-da, ay, 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 ay. Chavre, don't leave. I'm gonna continue. I'm just taking a little break. Yeah, my ya 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 ya. Did it ya 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 my ya. Ay ya my ya 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 da da ya da my ya ya ya. Ay ya 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 da da my da ya da da. Ay 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 da da my ya ya my ya 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 my da 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 ay da ya da da my ya ya my ya ya my ya ay 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 da da ay 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 da 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 ay 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 da 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 ay 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 my da 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 my da 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 ay da 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 ay da da my da 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 my da 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 my da 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 ay da da Chaim on the bracha. So it's interesting that Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz this year coincides with the 4th of July. And there's no doubt in my mind that there is a connection. And it's all part of this final rectification. The final rectification of the hisgabrus of koiches of kedusha, the powers of holiness over the powers of klipa, and the return, but it really is the return of Malchus Beis David, of the kingship of the Malchus of David HaMelech, has a lot to do with the tikkun of the United States of America. As I mentioned one time, how the previous Rebbe, after he came out of Russia, the previous Rebbe came to the United States of America. This is 10 years before he came to settle here. He came here for a trip, and he traveled across the land. He spent a few months in the United States. And he went to Philadelphia. He went to visit the Liberty Bell, the what was it called? Forgot right now, slipped my head. And the Friedrich Rebbe sat down on George Washington's chair, which they didn't allow regular people to sit on, only very important dignitaries and great heroes, great people. And they let the Friedrich Rebbe sit there, and the Friedrich Rebbe mentioned how much all his life he wanted to come to the cradle of American freedom. And he benched the United States of America. And as I mentioned, I've given this in other talks, that the previous Rebbe sitting on George Washington's chair was not for photo ops, and it wasn't to take a selfie. The Friedrich Rebbe sitting down on George Washington's chair is for a kavana primus. Because part of this last and final rectification is that you have to sublimate America. Russia, the koiches of the communists, which is one side of Esav, the brutal side of Esav, needs to be completely crushed and defeated. The United States of America, which is the lowest point, has to be elevated. And the way I think is that from the perspective of the previous Rebbe and the perspective of Chassidus and so on and so forth, the United States of America, its foundation is very just, and its foundation is a purification and a a stepping stone towards the final tikkun olam of Yemais HaMashiach. And therefore, we're watching now in the United States of America, we're watching this big, we're watching now this war against the United States, this internal war against the United States, and one that is, using what we might say a just cause, using certain elements of compassion, humanity, but really it's destructive forces, because it wants a complete destruction of a system that is a just system, and that is a caring system, and a system that has done more for humanity's advance of goodness and kindness, more than what we've seen ever before. And I'm saying not inside the Jewish world, on the outside. And here you want a complete destruction of that, and again, it camouflages itself. It hides behind the face of compassion and so on and so forth. And you can see that in America now. There's a great big war going on, and I don't think there's too much left for people to argue of what is coming mitzad HaKadusha and what is coming from forces. It's interesting, those who call for the destruction of the United States of America are the same ones that calls for the destruction of Israel. Defunding of Israel, calling Israel killers of children, and so on and so forth. So I think that should kind of tell us where things are at. The fact that the previous Rebbe sat down on George Washington's chair and blessed this country was that the previous Rebbe was directing that this country will not chas v'shalom be swallowed and be overpowered by the very same communists that were there in Russia that he was fighting then. It shouldn't happen to the United States of America. So the fact that Yud Beis Taamuz this year comes out on July 4th, when this is the most contentious July 4th ever between where the United States is heading to, whether we're gonna knock down the images on Mount Rushmore or not, that we're gonna honor George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, and these are powerful figures of justice, of goodness, of the powers of Tov in the world. Those who are anti-Mashiach and anti-goodness in this world, of course, you have to uproot a history of good people in order to be able to, launch whatever corrupt ideas you have, anti-God, anti any morality, and substituting it with your own morals based on human ideas, not based on any religious convictions, which has to do with an emunah in God and so on and so forth. So that's what we're down to right now, right before Mashiach comes, and the power that it came out on Yud Beis Taamuz is basically, we shouldn't have to chas v'shalom come towards the next election. We shouldn't have to come to November, and because we should already have the third Beis Hamikdash, and whatever happens in America, let it happen in America. But we're going to be already in Yerushalayim. If chas v'shalom things take a little bit longer, I think the fact that Yud Beis Taamuz came out on July 4th. July 4th is the energy of this country. Understand something. The energy, every country has its flag and has its power and has its Yom Tov and has its holiday. The Independence Day, which means the birth of this country, is July 4th. If July 4th comes out on Yud Beis Taamuz, means that that the power of Yud Beis Taamuz, which is the power that defeated communism then, and the same cancer of communism is happening now in the United States of America, that it's going to be defeated. It's going to be defeated as well. Yud Beis Taamuz is taking care of that. So it really doesn't. I am convinced that we can already pop the champagne bottles and claim victory for the side that is aligning itself so much more with holiness. I'm not saying everything is perfect, and I'm not, saying that everything is wonderful. Okay, I understand and I appreciate, and I know that there are certain. I spoke about Black Lives Matter, and the Nekudis over there that stand for something Mashiachtic. Yes, I did. So I'm not painting with a very broad brush over here and just picking sides. I'm just saying that in general, what we're seeing right now, to what it looks like, is a separation of good and bad, and that the evil is actually going to implode upon itself. And it's very interesting that in the Maimer of the previous Rebbe of Avaya Libe Yoizri, Vashem Vani Ereb Esoinoi, the Frierdiker Rebbe is talking about David HaMelech. Again, he's talking about Melech HaMashiach, and you can see clearly that he's talking about himself and the next Rebbe, and he's giving guidance to the next Rebbe of exactly how his Avodah needs to be. It's an amazing idea. It's mind-blowing. And that is that the Frierdiker Rebbe is talking about David HaMelech and his enemies. So when he's speaking about David HaMelech, he's not talking about the ancient David HaMelech. He's talking about his son-in-law. He's talking about the Rebbe. He's talking about what's going to be the Avodah. And he says that there is possible, and I may add to that, the previous Rebbe's Geula happened on Gimel Taamuz. That's when the initial Geula. Then it later manifested on Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Taamuz, but the initial Gimel Taamuz. Gimel Taamuz itself represents the chibur of the previous Rebbe and the Rebbe. This transition. Why? Because Gimel is number 3 and Taamuz is number 4. It's the 4th month. And especially when it comes to months are Malchus. So, and in Malchus itself, it's the 4th, which Dalid, the word Dalus is Malchus. We know that our 4 main spheres, there's Chachma is Aleph, there's Bina is Beis, there is Gimel, and there is Dalid. So, which is, Gimel represents, so Aleph is Chachma, Beis is Bina. Aleph stands for Aleph, I will teach you. Beis is the first letter in Bina. And Bina is also called a bias, it's a house. Gimel is Maloshin Gimel, to give. That's Yesoid. It's the 6 spheres, which is Ze'er Anpin, culminating in Yesoid, in the Frierdiker Rebbe. Dalet is the Makabel, is the recipient, that's Sfiras HaMalchus. That's already the Rebbe, that's the 7th one. Gimel Taamuz is the Yischabrus of the previous Rebbe to the Rebbe. That's why, by the way, Gimel Taamuz is, sadly, to what we've seen happen in Tafshin and Dalet. I'll be pashtus, I'm not going into the mystical and the more hidden element. The Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe joined together. But Gimel Taamuz, it's interesting how the Frierdiker Rebbe in his Maimarim is talking, he's Yosaid, and he's being Megale, he's directing the Dalit, the next Rebbe. And you'll take a look at the Maimar, it's unbelievable. What is he saying? He's saying that when David HaMelech was being persecuted and fought, so again, he's talking about Melech HaMashiach's last and final fight. He says that there's 2 ways of being able, and what did David HaMelech do? It says that David HaMelech did Zmirois Hoy Salichu Kecha. David HaMelech says, it's a Gavaldige Pirush, I have to share this with you. He says, Zmirois Hoy Aluchi Kecha, your chukim, your statutes were to me a song, the Beis Megurai in the house of my fear, in the house of my fearfulness. So your Torah study, this was Zmirais, this was my song. So what's the simple explanation? So Frierdiker explains. When David HaMelech was having a lot of physical pain and suffering, he was being persecuted and pursued, didn't have one moment of peace. Yet, and obviously it's a life of so much trouble. A person can be completely crushed by all the pain and suffering and agony. But the previous Rebbe, the David HaMelech was not nispal, it didn't impact him. Why? Because he realized that he has the Torah. And the light of the Torah, the words of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the light, the Oyer HaTorah, the lights of the Torah was shining in his neshama. Now, so what's so good? You're still suffering. When he realized that all, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that all of the conduct of the world, the entire system of creation, the world with everything in it, is all directed by the Torah, because Hashem looked at the Torah and created the world. But not only that, the tiniest little nuances of Torah affect all of creation, all of existence, can turn on the lights and shut the lights, and it's all based on the smallest nuance of Torah. Obviously, that tells us that Torah, the energy of Torah, is infinitely greater than the power of creation. So when David HaMelech was realizing that the lights of Torah were so luminous in his soul, and he was able to have that light, what does he care if the lights of creation are dim? If there's suffering, if he's pain, if he's having a hardship, he has the Torah and he has something that is infinitely greater than all of creation. That's that's the explanation of how David HaMelech, and that's why he sang. That's why Zemiros, this was a song. But then it says we know that David HaMelech was punished. David HaMelech was punished for calling the Torah Zemiros. It says that Hashem said to him, Zemiros, Karl, you're calling it a song. So those who learn Chassidus, there's a famous mimer from the Tzemach Tzedek about and Derech Matzesecho called Masei Oren B'Kasef, carrying the Oren on the shoulder. We learned the idea of this mimer in the Alter Rebbe's Maimarim, also in the end of Parshas Bamidbar, just a few weeks ago, Thursday night. And the Alter Rebbe has in his letters in the back in Igeres HaKodesh, the Alter Rebbe has a whole idea, explanation on Zemiros, and Kunteres Achron actually. Zemiros, what was the David HaMelech's sin? It's interesting, the Friediger Rebbe does not explain the sin the same way the Alter Rebbe explains it. The Friediger Rebbe is a whole different Pirush, which I think is so negea to what we're watching and seeing now in the world. And it seems like the Friediger Rebbe is laying the platform for the next generation for the Rebbe. He's guiding and instructing the Rebbe of how this battle against the Klippas needs to be dealt with. So the Friediger Rebbe says, why was David HaMelech punished? So he goes on to give it, again, this is all the mimer that the Friediger Rebbe is saying when he's being liberated. Yud Beis Taamuz. Imagine what's going on, what kind of light there is in his neshama. And he sees now till the end of all time. He sees the battle because he's now had the first victory. The Eibishter showing it's. I'm telling you, if you learn the mimer, you can see prophecy. He's like, do I know? I'm not a maven on prophecy, but you can see it. I mean, we can understand that the Friediger Rebbe's vision at that moment is like, he's saying the mimer of his release. He's saying it's like the Alter Rebbe's Pada B'Shalom Nafshi. Say, what is he saying? He says that, if they pay attention, it's Gavaldik. He says that because the highest of the whole world is contingent on Torah, he goes on to explain how through Torah one can actually purify and diminish the forces of darkness in the world and completely destroy them. A person can do that. And he goes on, especially if you learn Torah like David HaMelech. And he says, if you learn Torah like, what's David HaMelech's learning? Number one, he learns with bittul and Kabbalah soil. He's not learning just for knowledge. He's learning in a way of Nasav and Ishma, in a way of bittul. Secondly, he's learning Torah barabim. He's not like Shaul HaMelech, who learned Torah for himself. He's learning Torah barabim. And thirdly, he's learning Seidas HaTorah. He sees in every halacha the secrets of it. So it's interesting. If you can see that he's talking all about the next Rebbe, about the Rebbe being David. Because you can see, one of the things about the Rebbe is that the Rebbe learned Torah by Kabbalah soil. That's why the Rebbe gave us Rambam. It's not the most enjoyable kind of learning. It's not the learning of Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos. It's Kabbalah soil kind of learning. It's a study. It's a nasa. It's accepting the yoke, learning the dry halacha. The Friediger Rebbe actually connects it over there to Dvar that halacha kamoisai. Halacha is like David HaMelech, all about halacha. So learning halacha, learning the Rambam. That's that Indian. Learning Torah barabim, meaning not just learning, keeping Torah just for a selected few, but Torah for the masses. Who taught Torah for the masses? Again, the Rebbe. The Rebbe started a network of Torah shiurim across the entire world. People learning Torah. I mean, I would say by masses. I mean, outside of the Torah world. Take the Torah out to the public. That's again the Rebbe. Thirdly, learning the halachas of Torah and seeing the pnimius of it. Pnimius of Torah. Take a look at all the sichos of the Rebbe. You see, whenever the Rebbe is learning Rambam, what does the Rebbe do with every halacha Rambam? The Rebbe reveals the pnimius of it. What's that? In Rashi, the Rebbe reveals the nigla, the genius of Rashi. In Rambam, which is the sefer that everybody always saw as nigla revealed, the Rebbe reveals the secrets of it. The inyan pnimi of every halacha. That's a side note. But al kaponim, that kind of limud Torah can actually shut the klippas down completely. And David HaMelech did that. And he wanted to do that. And that's the meaning from the word Zemiros. Zemiros has another meaning, the Frierdiker Rebbe says. Not only does it have a meaning, a song, it also has a meaning, Lezamer hakoitzim v'hachoichim, to cut down, to prune the klippas, to prune the forces of darkness. And the Frierdiker Rebbe explains over there clearly how the klippas are yonik from two places. From the bottom, when there's too much tzimtzum, and also from above, Seder Ishtalshul is from above, from the infinite light above. And through Limud HaTorah, one is able to, Nomayla Lamata, from above, cause a complete Zemiros, a complete chopping down of the powers of Klippa, that they're able to chas v'shalom be yonik, either from the top or from the bottom. Through Torah you can do it. And he says these words, in a manner like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he doesn't say Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, in a manner of Nasan Be'enov, he gave his eyes on them, V'nasa gal shalatzames, they become a pile of bones. In other words, the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying, I, being the Rebbe, am able to do away with this whole communist regime in 1 minute. I can give my eyes on it, put his eyes on it, and nasa gal shalatzam. It's the same way like it says about the Alter Rebbe, that he was able to, and he wanted to, he could have set the entire Petersburg on fire. The Frierdiker Rebbe says, I can do that. And I think he's telling it to his son-in-law, the Rebbe. And he's saying there is a way that David HaMelech wanted to do it, because it's chick-chack. You do what's called a bitter through Torah. A bitter through Torah is a very quick bitter. If you do it from above, you declare your megala in Torah the way the truth is, and all the klippas fall. The Frierdiker Rebbe, however, explains that that's not the Eibishter's desire. That's why David HaMelech was punished. He's mirai sayeluchu kecha. David HaMelech wanted to use Torah to do away and finish off all of it in a manner of Mamayla Lamata, to set everything straight, al pi Torah, from above. Problem is, by doing it that way, he says it's against loy letohu bara. You're going to destroy a lot of things. They're going to be destroyed. Losheves yitzara. The Eibishter created the word Losheves. Losheves means it has to work through a system of bit by bit refinement. It has to work through a birur, a purification, momata lamayla, from below. It has to work through a system that it itself purifies itself, cleanses itself in a very meticulous, gentle, careful way. Not in a way where you just magala the truth and you blow the klippas out. In a way of a subtle, step-by-step avodah. And he explains mainly that's the bitter that happens through davening. And he goes on to say that's be'ikr, the bitter of Malchus, because Malchus is called Vani Tefillah, I am Tefillah. The bitter of Malchus. It's a bitter, like the Rebbe. What did the Rebbe do? The Rebbe sent shluchim across the entire world. The Rebbe could be Megala, the Eibishter, everywhere in one snap of a finger. But that's Momayla Lamata. Doesn't want that. Momata Lamayla, Vani Tefillah, I am Tefillah. Now, it's interesting. In the Maimer he says that Malchus is Vani Tefillah, but it's really Vani Tefillah, which is Malchus. But David HaMelech was Isaac beside the Satira. In other words, even though Malchus is what? Tefillah, and it's the Ikr, the Avodah from the bottom, purifying things from below, David HaMelech wanted to accomplish it all through Limud HaTorah from above. And that was wrong. That was considered a sin. And therefore, it seems like the Frierdiker Rebbe is instructing his son-in-law, the Rebbe, the Dor Hashvi, the next generation, that the bitter should be a more meticulous bitter from below. And that's what he says, Havaya li ba'oizroi. He asks a question at the beginning of the Maimer. And I think clarification in this will give us an understanding of how the Frierdiker Rebbe directed Lubavitch, and he directing, therefore, the final stages of how the world, how the birurim to Tulya Moisa Mashiach are going to happen. So he begins the Maimer with the question: what does it mean? Havaya li ba'oizroi. Hashem is, to me, amongst my helpers. Hashem is with me, with my helpers. Frierdiker Rebbe asks a simple question: what do you mean with you, with your helpers? Is there any other helper besides God? Havaya li ba'oizroi means Hashem is with me, ba'oizroi, amongst my assistants. He also assists. He's one of an assistants amongst the assistants. They're only the Eibishter. What do you mean others that help? He asks the same question and it says, Habal L'Tayr, someone who comes to purify himself. Messiahin loy, he is being helped. And it says the word Messiahin, Beloshin, it doesn't say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oizroi, Hashem helps him. It says, Messiahin loy, they help him. Seems to be like there's a whole bunch of helpers. Or Yid knows, La'Hashem HaYeshua, that the whole Yeshua comes only from the Eibishter. What do you mean, Messiahin loy? We're being helped by many. Same idea. What does it mean, Ba'oizroi, amongst those who help me? And then he asks, what does it mean, Vani ere b'soinoi, and I will see in my enemy. I will see my enemy. Which means I will see the punishment of my enemy. I will see the downfall of my enemy. He asks the question, since when does David HaMelech want to see the downfall of his enemy? You want your enemy to do tshuva, especially since his enemies were Jewish people. Doeg and Achitophel, these were great rabbis. They fought him. So you should want that they should do tshuva. Not that they should, that's revenge. Revenge is not kosher. It's a very negative thing. What is he saying? Vani era, I want to see B'sainai and the downfall of my enemy. So the Rebbe explains, the Friediger Rebbe, an amazing thing. And again, here lies the entire, what we're seeing right now in front of our eyes happening, current events, and what's happening in the last. The Friediger Rebbe says it seems like that the pirush of the pasuk is as follows. It's mashma, he says. When will I see in my enemy? Vani ere, when will I see bisoinoi in my enemy? When havaya li ba'izroi, when Hashem is to me amongst my helpers. So what does that mean? That means, again, we have a question both in the beginning of the pasuk and in the end of the pasuk. But when we answer them, we'll see both of them work together. And dafka, when you have Hashem li ba'izroi, then you have ani ere bisoinoi. What's the connection? Again, what was the question? Havaya li ba'izroi, Hashem is amongst my helpers. You only have one helper, that's God. Second half of the pasuk, I will see my enemy. I don't want to see, why should one want to see the fall of the enemy, especially at tzaddik? He should want that his enemy should do tshuva. What do you mean I will see my enemy? And what's the relationship? When havaya li ba'ozrei, when Hashem is going to be amongst my helpers, then anin ere b'sainai. So the Friediger Rebbe says like this. As we mentioned earlier, there is a way that at tzaddik, the way that there's a certain derech and avodas Hashem that you can, that tzaddikim are able to finish the job. They can bring Mashiach. They can cut away the klippas 1, 2, 3, like David HaMelech wanted to do it. He wanted to cut them down, like Matas Yoel sings. Chop them down, right? He wanted to chop down all the klippas 1, 2, 3. And the Friediger Rebbe could have done it in Russia. Could have chopped down Stalin and all the whoever was there at the top and cut them off from their source. And the Rebbe could have done the same thing in America. Fartik, end the whole deal. But that's not a thorough bearer. Havaya li ba'ozrei means that you work gently, and as a result of that, you extract the spark that's within the enemy, within all the negative forces. You meticulously, if you're doing it out just through limud Torah, then you're, again, eliminating them by force. If you're doing the bitter slowly and carefully, what you're doing is you're allowing them to drain their chayos. It becomes in a manner, these are the words, he says, chayel bola vayakienu. They swallowed wealth, they have energy, they have power, but in the end they vomit it, they give it out. They can't keep it. And that comes through this slowly, meticulous bitter that has to happen. When that happens, what happens is Havaya li, Hashem is me, ba'ozrei, amongst those who help me. He's referring to all the nitzutzei kedusha that are buried in all the things that we were up against, in all the forces, whether it's the communists, the Russians, all forces of Esav, all forces of negativity, all these things, these are nitzutzei kedusha. When you extract them and you elevate them, then Havaya li, then Havaya joins ba'ozrei amongst these nitzutzei kedusha. And then what happens, Vani era, then I can see, Besoinoi, once my enemy, once the nitzutz leaves, then the Ra remains pure Ra without any good to it. And then it implodes upon himself because Ra cannot be without camouflaging. Ra, evil, always has to have some bit of Kedusha that it hides behind. So for example, the Friediger Rebbe says, when you take, it says regarding the Russia by the Seder, Va'af ata, and also you hake eshinov, knock out his teeth. So the Friediger Rebbe says it means take out the shin from the word Russia. When you take out the shin, shinov is the shin from the word Russia, it remains ra. Ra will fall apart on its own. So when it's an avoida of avaya liba oizri, it's a slow avoida. So what the Friedrich Rebbe do is he didn't by force turn the Russian communist government into a pile of atzamis. He let his Chassidim stay in Russia, and it involved Mesiras Nefesh and another cheder and another underground mikveh and a this and a that, and it was a 70-year battle, of blood and tears. And one that was cost an enormous toll. You can't imagine it. The Mesiras Nefesh that the Friediger Rebbe had, the fact that he's able to fix it all, as he himself says, in a way of Gal Shal Atzamis, and he doesn't do it, is an unbelievable Mesiras Nefesh. But why is he doing it? Because Havaya Liba Oizroi, because he knows the Pnimius HaKavana is that we need to get all the Nitzutzei Kedusha out of it. Vani Ereb Esainai, and then we can see. You see, what happened to communism? Why did it collapse? When it was revealed how evil it is, when it couldn't hide anymore behind anything, it just fell apart and was dumped on itself. Same is happening now in the United States of America. All the evil is coming out. It's all just, and the klippos are not able to control themselves anymore, hiding behind. They try a little bit, but now they're just becoming so expressed, and they're not able to even contain themselves anymore. All this garbage is coming out. It's going to fall apart. Bani era, then I can see. So again, only when the way the tikkun comes is through a slow, meticulous purification. As I said earlier, the Rebbe could have snapped his fingers and revealed godliness everywhere, but he didn't do it that way. He sent each and every one of his chassidim and empowered every single one of us, how in every situation and in every place, in a very gentle, pneumistic way, to be mavar and to fix and to, in a way, as we said before, vani tefillah, through the avodah of tefillah, to the avodah of personal, meticulous, individualized birudim that need to happen. And in every single, even the coming of Mashiach, the Rebbe could have finished it already in 1990, 1991. But the Rebbe wanted, as we said earlier, that's why Gimel Taamuz came about, that we should do the avodah. It should be personalized. It should be us. It shouldn't be through an overwhelming power from above. The avodah, but dafka through such a kind of an avodah, of this thorough, meticulous, particularized kind of an avodah, is then vani ereb esainai. Then the klippa, then the shin goes out of the reish, the Russia, and it's no more Russia, as it says in the pasuk. The lashon over there, you're gonna va'oid ma'at ve'ein Russia. There's no more. Why? Because the Ra itself will collapse. The Ra now has so emerged in such an open way, unbashfully, just parading outward as pure evil, as pure, and it's not going to stand anymore. But the United States is going to be rectified. Is going to make is going to side with holiness. That was already part of the tikkunim, and that's again I'm connecting it back to Yud Beis Taamuz coming on July 4th. So this is where we stand right now. We're standing at these moments of the final exposure of Klippa and the final victory of Kedusha. B'payil mamish, for each and every one of us, b'payil mamish. Maimer Amuzga, before I get to b'payil mamish, meaning parenthetically, I'm going to say an interesting thing. In the Maimer, again, I saw so many gems in this Maimer. It's worth learning it. Again, I didn't even learn, I'm sure it's worth learning the next Maimer, Baruch HaGoyim El-Chayav and Toivus as well. I only learned Havaya Li B'Yizra'y, and the first one, Gefem Mitzrayim Tesiyah. And I know I can still learn it 100 times, and I should learn it, and we need to learn it. But this is what I've been seeing and learning it. So over there, the Friedrich Rabbi said, is talking a lot about oisios, about words, because that's the power of malchus, the power of speech, the power of the seventh generation, the power of speech. So the Friedrich Rebbe brings what it says in Sefer Yetzirah, that he's bringing the idea of Be'ir Elokeinu, the city of our God. The city of our God is Olam Hadibur, is a city, is where put together words. Words become letters become words. Words become sentences. Sentences become paragraphs. Paragraphs become chapters. Chapters become books. That means, and by Hashem, it's the letters that Hashem spoke to create. So your combination of letters create the entire world, which is Sfiras HaMalchus. But the Frierdiker Rebbe says over there, it brings what it says in Sefer Yetzirah, that once you have two letters, you have already Boinoi Shtei Batim. You can build two homes. A word is called a home. What are the two letters you can build from two letters? What are the two homes you can build from two letters? So he brings Aleph and Beis. You take the word Aleph and Beis. Aleph Beis, if you write it directly, it's Av, it's father. And if you write it the opposite, it's Beis Aleph, it's Ba. Ba means come. So you have two words. Av, which is father, has a certain content to it, father. And Ba also has coming, Tuesday. But it occurred to me when I'm learning the Maayon, it's an amazing thing. The first two letters of the Aleph Beis, the first combination you can make, with one letter you can't make a combination. The first combination, Aleph is not a combination, it's just to the same letter. You have to have a second letter. The first possible letters you can have, which everything begins with, is Aleph Beis. What are the two words you can make out of that? Av Ba, father is coming. Which basically means that the beginning of existence of words, the first nakuda is, what's the underlying first reality that we have to know is our father is coming. So who's the father that's coming? Obviously it means the Eibishter. The Eibishter is coming, that's for sure. God is coming to this world, that's for sure going to happen. But the father also means Rebbe. Av Ba, the Tate kommt. Every other combination, every other scenario, maybe yeah, maybe no, well, we're when. The one thing that's for zicher, for sure, no shaila. Av Ba, the Tate kommt, the father is coming. In any case, Poil Mamish, the literal sense, time is running out, and we're mamish right now standing by the Geula Amitis V'Ashlema. It's not that Mashiach has to come. Mashiach is here already. The Geula is fully in. Mir Kennenzich, we can either, remain distracted or tune in. There's nothing greater you can do today's days than learn in Yana Geula Mashiach, see Mashiach in everything. Breathe Geula, speak Geula, sing Geula. Don't allow yourself to get depressed. Don't allow yourself to get down. There's constrictions. There's the situations. There's the virus. There's the this. There's the that. Do whatever it takes to keep yourself in a healthy state of mind, in a positive state. But Be'ikr, know that the Geula is coming. If that, that. And one of the Yanim in the Maimer, the Frierdiker Rebbe says, again, as I mentioned earlier, is talking so much about how we decide reality. So when we decide and point out Melech HaMashiach, what was the last avodah? Is to be Megala the Melech. When we are Megala Melech HaMashiach, and we say, one of the avodas the Yidden are going to do, is that Yidden are going to be Makabel Melech HaMashiach. See, he's coming no matter what. He's going to be but now we still have a schus to be a chelik of this Kabbalah Samalchus. And we're uncomfortable with it because we're as we mentioned, that people are, I think we passed already the next stage. I think everybody's so fed up with the Golos that we're okay. And it used to be that, you're saying, so let me just put it this way. I believe B'Emunah Shalema that the Geula is going to happen any moment. I believe B'Emunah Shalema that the Melech HaMashiach is actively involved right now in being Goyal the B'nai Yisroel, and I believe that it's important to identify Mashiach as well. I believe the Rebbe is Mashiach, and that time has come that we shouldn't be so bashful about it. It's so strange because I'm finding it hard even to say it at the Farbrengen now when I'm sitting alone here, no one is here. Okay, I'm doing it online, yeah, but and I ask myself a silly question. I mean, who then? Mashiach has to come. Everybody's agreeing. Mashiach has to come now. So where is he? Could you explain to me? Oh, yeah, he's sitting in some cave somewhere. And you remember, don't forget, he's got his sandals on. And Mashiach is the one who brings the Jewish people to Torah and mitzvahs, inspires Yiddishkeit, and teaches Pnimiyas HaTorah. So who teaches Pnimiyas HaTorah? Pnimiyas HaTorah is being taught through Chabad. That's where the whole system was created, of explaining Pnimiyas HaTorah that the mind should comprehend it. You can learn Kabbalah in other places, but the mind should comprehend the ideas only through Chassidus Chabad. Those who didn't learn Chassidus Chabad don't know what I'm talking about, but those who learned Chassidus Chabad understand, and especially those who tried to learn Kabbalah in other places and other mystical, and started learning Chassidus Chabad, realize that you don't understand it until you learn Chassidus Chabad. So he teaches Pnimiyas HaTorah, and he's Mekarev Liban Shel Bnei Yisroel, and influences the nations. So narrow it down. Who are your contestants? And probably needs to say that he's Mashiach. So, the Rebbe told us in 1990, 1991 that Mashiach is already here, and he's Beis Galus, and his 770 is called Beis Mashiach, and his name is Menachem. And his 770 is Beis Mashiach. He's already Beis Galus. When the Rebbe said we don't only have the Metzias of Mashiach, we have the Izgalus of Mashiach already in the world. And, right, V'kabetz nitchi Yisroel to Torah and mitzvahs. V'yakov kol Yisroel l'chad leilach bo l'chazek bitko. So if someone is stuck in any corner of the world, and when you have a problem, you're in jail, someone got into trouble, who do you turn to? Who do you turn to? You look up on the book. Do you look if there is a, let me see, go through, see, is there a Vishnitz cheder there, a Vishnitz representative? Is there a Karliner from Karlin, from Stalin, someone, a representative? Is there a representative epis from I don't know, from Krasna, from Bobiv, from Lakewood? Who do you turn to? A problem anywhere in the world, a Jew is in trouble. The first person you turn to is you turn to the Chabad Shliach in the place. There's one representative. And the Rebbe's representative is everywhere. Where the network reached out to stretch out to get every single Jew from across the world. Ali. So we should all accept upon ourselves the Malchus of Melech HaMashiach. To get comfortable with it, to stop being discomfortable. I have to get over myself too. I'm still uncomfortable. I'm still uncomfortable because what people will think. After everything I've already said, and I'm admitting I have a hard time. But we're reaching a point already where what's the point of keeping these things a secret? Secret la'olam v'ad. We need to be Megala in ourselves. We need to be Megala in the entire world. The time of the redemption has arrived. The Geul is here already. The Goyal is ready to redeem us all. What do we need to do? Learn in Yana Geula Mashiach besimcha. The Pnimiyas. Put yourself into Mashiach's mindset. Try to help another Jew. And very important, this week is going to be the Sima Rambam. Start learning Rambam. If you haven't learning Rambam yet, start learning Rambam, daily Rambam. It's the Rebbe's Takana. And I'm going to conclude with a thought. The Friediger Rebbe in that Maimer says that when he asks, there's only the Eibishter, he brings what it says in Rambam, Yesoida is Vamuda Chochmas. The foundation of all foundations and the pillar of all wisdom is Leida, to know Sheyesh HaMatzarishan, that there is a. So the way I understand what the Friediger Rebbe is saying over there is interesting. Is creation in essence is from the name of Elokim. If you learn Torah, if you learn Chumash, what do you see creation? Creation is from the name of Elokim. When creation is from the name of the Elokim, the world is still a Rosh Hashanah. It's still a pluralistic place, because mitzad the name of Elokim, mitzad the concealments of the name of Elokim, there's all kinds of forces. In order to Megala Achdos, the unity, you have to be Megala Havaya. But in creation itself, there's no Gilui of Havaya. Mitzad creation, mitzad Bereshis. Where does the Gilui of Havaya come from? From Torah. Where is that revealed? In Torah Shabbat Peh. Which part of Torah Shabbat Peh? In Rambam. Rambam's beginning is Bereshis. But the Rambam puts in Bereshis, when the Rambam says everybody has to know Sheyesh Matzur Rishon Yesod is to know that there is a Matzur Rishon. That's really Bereshis. Bereshis Baruch Elokim Shemayim V'Saaretz. When you're looking at Shemayim V'Saaretz, you should know. So the Rambam says that you should know that the Matzur Rishon, the first Matzur, that there is a Matzur Rishon Mamtzi Kol Nimtza that brings everything out in existence. But from the Rambams, when you're learning it in Rambam, meaning the pa'ula of learning halachos in Torah is that instead of creation being a product of Shem Elokim, it's nizgala, the pnimius of Elokim. And what's the pnimius of Elokim? Havaya. And that's why hidden in Yesoidei Yesoides Vamuda Chachmas is Yud Kei Vav Kei. So really, what is going to happen when you learn Rambam? And when you learn Rambam daily, every single day, you're going to be Megala Havaya in Elokim, which is the purpose of all of creation. And that's why Taka, the seventh generation, which is the Sfiras HaMalchus, Ir Elokeinu, Elokim, the power, is the one who is Mesaken Limud HaRambam. So by learning daily halacha every day, and I didn't used to do it, I had a very hard time learning Rambam, and I started doing it a couple of years ago, and it's becoming more of a, by me, Hashem should only help me, a chayk v'lo yaver, no matter how tired I am. I've been doing this crazy traveling over the last, sometimes I came into the hotel, I thought I was going to die. So tired, and I had to wait for. You have to learn Rambam. 3 prakim Rambam. I admit that once or twice I like just read it, but then the next day I try to go back to it and relearn it. But to go to sleep without learning it, I don't chas v'shalom ever want to do. The mamish learn the 3 prakim, get to the very last halacha then, and I can tell you, this is what I will tell you, the miracles that I am seeing regarding parnasa and regarding. It's not normal. And I attribute it to 2 things. I attribute it to teaching about Mashiach in a way of, without busha, without being embarrassed, but to speak openly about Mashiach. That's number 1. And the second inyan is learning Rambam, chayk v'lo yaver. So you have to learn Rambam. So there's 3 ways of learning Rambam. You can learn, if you're mamish not shaykh to learn or whatever, you feel, you learn Sefer HaMitzvahs, follow along the maslul, you're able to push yourself to learn a serious learning, try to do 1 chapter a day. And if you really want to really be tuned in to the pnimius of all of this, and you're able to, do 3 chapters a day. And lately they've been giving out so many different Sfarim on Rambam, making it so much easier to learn. Amachai. For those who can learn Hebrew, I highly recommend the Steinsaltz Rambam. Short, concise, with much easier than the Rambam La'am. Explanations, fantastic, not long, very bekitzer. And in the bottom of each thing he has, because when you learn Rambam, you feel like you're not learning halacha, because halacha is not like always like Rambam. So he always has the way it is brought in Shulchan Aruch, meaning whether we paskin like the Rambam, we don't paskin the Rambam, in a short, concise way, it's gewaldig. So this last machzor of Rambam, I kind of learned it, I think, a lot of it pretty good. And I'm very, very happy to say that this week we're making a siyum on Rambam. And I'm ready to start all over again. And again, it's a very hard commitment because it's a daily commitment, 3 chapters every single day. But I would say that the bracha that it's going to bring you in your own personal, of course you have to chitas, of course, that's the Friedrich Rebbe's takana. Chitas Rambam, and you do it every day, mamish. I can't even tell you. Don't push it off. Don't have like what you didn't. Don't go to sleep until you do it. You're going to see brachas, and again, it's all part of this. David HaMelech is the one who put up halacha kamoisai. David Rambam, it's all one Indian. These are the koiches of Mashiach in this world. The more we tune in as Chassidim, as Yidden into this power, the faster the Hizgalus of Mashiach will be. The more we will be participants in it. So this Thursday, Shavasa B'Taamuz, again, it's also, everything is Bashgacha Pratis. Yud Beis, Yud Gimel Taamuz came out on July 4th. And the Siyum Rambam, I think it's the 36th time, something like that, is coming out on Shavasa B'Taamuz, both 3 chapters and 1 chapter. On Shavasa B'Taamuz, which is the day of the beginning of the exile, that is the Tikkun. Let's hope that it's already going to be the koyach of Rambam and Limud Rambam, the Gilui of Shem Havaya. Golos comes from Shem Elokim. Geula comes from Gilui Shem Havaya. V'nigla Kvoid Hashem, Gilui Havaya. May the V'nigla Kvoid Hashem of Yesoide is V'amud HaChachmas. When it's Nizgala in the earth and in the world, Shakadosh Baruch Hu Mamtzam, Yesha Matzu Rishon Mamtzi Kol Nimtza, that there is a first being who's emanating all of existence, when that emerges out into the open, then there's no more gullus. So may it already be revealed that Shivasa B'Tammuz should be real Shivasa B'Tammuz. Shivasa means Toiv. It's Gematria Toiv. 17 is Gematria Toiv. The real good of Tammuz. The Pnimius of Tammuz. The Pnimius of the whole gullus, that it was never gullus. It was always Geula. And that's also, by the way, going back, why the Friedrich Rebbe's Geula and the Gimel Taamuz and all this it's all in Tammuz, because the whole Avodah is the transformation and the remaking of Tammuz and of, and as the Rebbe spent so much time and so many sichas redefining the Gullus, redefining the 3 weeks. It's already flipped over. Tammuz is already flipped over. Now we need already the Toiv. Toiv is oyer, light. That this Shivasa B'Tammuz should already be lichtik. The light of Mashiach should already shine. B'chol takvay, b'chol gvurasay. May we merit already to see the full his galus of Malchus Beis David. Remember Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz, and Gimel Tammuz is all the it's all the emergence of Malchus Beis David in this world. The fortification, the revelation, the strength, and the power of Malchus Beis David over the powers of Klippa and Sitrach. May we merit already to see the full Nitzachon of Melech mi Beis David. And it should be good. It should be Ach Tov li Yisroel. We should already access the true Corona. The Korona Urpanav of Melech HaMashiach. The true Corona, the Keser, the crown. The crown of Melech HaMashiach. The crown of the Eibishter. It should all already be revealed. Egia Azman. L'chaim Alabracha. This is the Sud of David Malka Mashiach. May we merit already. And this week is also coming Parshas Pinchas, which is Eliyahu Hanavi, Pinchas Eliyahu. We have all the ingredients here by this Malava Malka for the complete his bias of Eliyahu to be Mavasa de Gula, bias of David Malka Mashiach. May it happen now. L'chaim Alabrach. I'm on a bench, and we're going to send everybody to go do whatever you're inspired to do. Whether it's to learn your Rambam that you didn't learn yet, to finish your Chitas that you didn't, to learn the Maimer that I was talking about, Savaya Li B'Yoizri, good Maimer to learn, to say Kriyish Mashal Amita, say V'yitan L'cha, Eat Malav Amalka if you didn't, sing Eliyahu Hanavi, I don't know what, dance a dance. Lift yourself up. The main thing, lift yourself up from the sorrow and the depression of as you said before, of the social distancing and of the quarantine and all this. Go higher, go beyond. L'chaim.